Donald Trump spoke in front of a furniture store gutted by Hurricane Helene in Valdosta, Georgia, on Monday, claiming falsely that Georgia's governor had not been able to reach Joe Biden. Upon landing in Valdosta, Trump claimed to reporters the president had been sleeping and that Brian Kemp, the governor, had been calling the president and hasn't been able to get him. He repeated the false claim when speaking in front of the store. Kemp refuted the allegation earlier in the day. He said he had been playing phone tag with Kamala Harris but also said, "The president just called me yesterday afternoon and he just said, 'Hey, what do you need?' He offered that if there's other things we need, just to call him directly, which, I appreciate that." During the White House press briefing on Monday, the Homeland Security Advisor Elizabeth Sherwood Randall said Biden had offered Kemp anything Georgia needed in terms of storm response. At 226 confirmed fatalities as of Friday, Helene is the fourth deadliest hurricane to make landfall in the U.S. mainland since 1950. The deadliest is Katrina, which killed 1,392 people in 2005, followed by Audrey in 1957 at a death toll of 416. Third on the list is Hurricane Camille in 1969, a Category 5 storm that made landfall along the Mississippi coast and claimed 256 lives. The Asheville Police Department said Friday that 270 of 300 people reported missing have been found alive and well. Police are working on 75 active.
This is an unprecedented storm, and it's causing us to have an unprecedented response.
This is the city of Asheville in the western mountains of North Carolina, 2,000 feet above sea level and hundreds of miles away from the nearest coastline. But such was the force of Hurricane Helene that nowhere in its path was safe.
We are surging search and rescue teams to help rescue people who are still stranded but can't communicate because cell phone service is down.
As many as 600 people are still on the missing list as search teams fan out across the state, navigating the worst flooding to hit the region in a century, with thousands of downed trees, power and mobile outages, and hundreds of closed roads.
It's indescribable. I don't know, it just was covered in litter and trees and mud, and it's stinky, and it was all the way up the street up here. It just looked like the bottom of a river.
And this is the...
Authorities are investigating a series of bomb threats at New York City synagogues and cultural institutions on Saturday. At least 4 synagogues and 1 museum received the emailed threats, which were deemed not credible by the New York City Police Department. The Upper West Side's Reform congregation Rodeph Sholom was targeted, along with the LGBTQ-oriented congregation Beit Simchat Torah on West 30th Street, Chabad of Midtown on 5th Avenue and Brooklyn Heights Synagogue on Remsen Street. Police told CBS News that the threatened locations all received emails stating that explosives were present in the buildings or nearby.
Homes were swept away in the storm that had been a Category 1 just the day before. But in a now all too familiar tale, Helene picked up massive amounts of energy from the unusually warm Gulf waters, exacerbated, scientists say, by climate change. The result was a 350-mile wide, devastating storm with wind speeds up to 140 miles an hour at their peak.
And have you reached out to President Biden about federal relief efforts?
No, I haven't reached out to him. No, I think he's sleeping right now, actually.
Joe Biden, who had, in fact, returned to the White House earlier than planned on Sunday and had already addressed the devastation in earlier remarks.
I've directed my team to provide every available resource as fast as possible to your communities to rescue, recover, and to begin rebuilding.
Biden says he plans to visit storm-ravaged areas this week as Vice President Kamala Harris cut short a campaign trip in Nevada to return to Washington, D.C. to be briefed on the crisis. This is the second powerful hurricane to hit parts of America in just over 2 months, and many predict scenes of devastation, not just on the coast but deep into the country, could become the norm as rising temperatures from human-induced climate change take their ever more destructive toll.
Security outside synagogues and Jewish institutions will be even more apparent as Jewish New Yorkers celebrate the high holidays. The NYPD is deploying heavily armed teams and patrol officers. Canines are doing sweeps and cameras are trained on certain areas.
Especially given the high holy days, given the anniversary of October 7th, we're going to be increasing our police presence here. And there's a deterrent element, but it really is about reassuring people that they can go about their busy daily lives safely and happily.
Governor Kathy Hochul has also directed New York State Police to coordinate with local law enforcement after bomb threats were reported at synagogues throughout the state Friday morning. Authorities have deemed them to be not credible. She called the threats horrific and unacceptable. Meantime, Mayor Eric Adams spent a part of his morning at Tribeca Synagogue.
As we look at this important day, as it's the beginning of the year of the Jewish community, and we want to start off the year with right, with unity, with love and compassion, and I think it's a time, Jewish or non-Jewish, to really reflect on that moment.
But this time of celebration is marked by continued conflict in the Middle East. Israel says it has killed about 250 Hezbollah fighters since starting its ground operations in Lebanon.
Employers adding 254,000 jobs in September. That is far above what was projected by economists. It's also the largest monthly increase since March. Unemployment also ticked lower to 4.1%. The numbers were so strong that Joe Biden did something he's never done before as president. He spoke to reporters at the press briefing to take a victory lap.
It was a welcome October surprise for the economy. The September jobs report added the most jobs since March, dramatically beating Wall Street's expectations, with the unemployment rate ticking down. Hourly wages jumped 4% over the last year, outpacing inflation. President Biden today taking credit.
We were told time and again that the policies we were pursuing, we'd put forward weren't going to work, make things worse, including some of the other team are still saying they're going to make things worse. But we've proven them wrong.
While former President Trump has been campaigning on his administration's economic record.
Inflation has devastated our economy. It's one of the big problems we have.
Overall, the average unemployment rate has been lower in the Biden administration.
The River Arts District in Asheville is one of the best-known areas in the city. This area along the French Broad River was completely flooded and underwater when Helene came through western North Carolina. The floodwaters leaving behind a lot of mud and debris. Many artists that have studios here not only lost their art, but their livelihood from Helene's destruction. This area of Asheville that many call the heart of the city will be rebuilding for months to come. In Sky 4 over Asheville, Jared McDarris, WYFF News 4.